Yeah, the next day, like, my mum rang me and said, Jake's nanny has rang and said Sonia hasn't been in touch, and that's very unusual because she'd always ring first thing in the morning to see how he was. So I rang Susan and she said no, she didn't come out with me. She said she's not coming out, she was tired, she was reading a book.
So she cancelled on her friend?
Yeah.
So you knew then that
yeah,
something...
kind of last minute she cancelled on her friend. So we were ringing around, everyone couldn't get in contact, and I was saying, man, maybe she did go out, maybe she's in someone's house, you know, asleep. But the day, like, drew on, I was saying, no, there's something. My mum said, I'm going to report her missing, Claire. You know, it's not like her. So at 3 o'clock, about 10 to 3, I said to my husband, I'm going to my mum's now because, like, there's just something not right. And I was in the car, my younger brother was with me, and he was on his phone and he said, Claire, look, a body has been found.
In the hotel?
Yeah.
And Chris, you drove to the hotel?
My partner and myself drove to the hotel.
And you saw?
And I saw a car there. I couldn't tell you the registration of a car, but I knew it was her car.
Jake's car seat, I remember.
And my heart just dropped. I knew.
You knew at that stage,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't until the next day that you had absolute confirmation that it was Sonia?
Yeah. When I went up and I seen a car there, there's a policeman there, and I was standing over the car, and I told him I was looking for my daughter. I was concerned. I described my daughter, and he just said, well, I think you better come with me. He brought me into the hotel, and then he said, as far we can be nearly certain it's your daughter, but, and I wanted to see her, but they wouldn't let me see her.
They didn't say, like, it's Sonia. They never said that until, like, we knew because they described the tattoos and everything else, but they hadn't said it's Sonia. And by the time we got home, it was everywhere. The press were in with the neighbours. Like, it was just crazy.
Can you understand why Sonia would trust somebody enough to meet them in a hotel room when she'd never met them before?
No, like, we still just can't believe that she did that. It's not like her. It's not like her. The only thing is, around that time, she was lonely, and she was, you know, she'd gone through the breakup with her child's father, and then she had all the stuff with Eric, and it was near Valentine's Day. That's, like, the only thing I can think of is that she was lonely. We still can't understand why she would. It was so out of character.
Explanation. Can't.
And you'll never know really what happened in that hotel room?
No, there's only one person knows what happened in that hotel room.
And we don't believe anything. We don't believe his statements. And it's very inconsistent what he said as well. He's changed it so many times. We don't believe a word he says.
And he pleaded not guilty as well.
Yeah.
But he did attempt to say sorry, didn't he, in the courtroom? Did you accept that, or what did you think?
No.
Because he was never sorry.
He was never sorry. If he was sorry, he never would have put us through that trial. Never. He should have pleaded guilty straight away. Like, and even when he said it, it wasn't even sincere. It didn't, you know, I think it was just to say it just so everyone would see it.
How is the family coping now?
Well, getting along as best we can.
Yeah. I mean, because it's 3 years later now, it's like she died all over again.
Yeah.
You know, and
because of the trial and the sentencing.
Because of the trial and sentencing and the attention. Like, Jake really, you know, he's 6 now, so he has no privacy now. His privacy is gone. Like, when he was going to school, people didn't know. A lot of people didn't know that I wasn't his mammy. And now everybody knows.
But he is doing really well, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's doing really well, but it has been a long road to getting where he is. But he's doing great now. Like, he's doing amazing.
What's your message then tonight for people who might be using social media to meet people, or dating apps, or whatever it might be?
Just be so careful. I mean, like, that Shane Cully Facebook page had friends. I had pictures. I had messages from people wishing him happy birthday. Like, there was no way, if she looked at that, she would have known it was fake. You just have to be so careful. Like, it was so foolish what she done to meet someone privately like that. You'll have to meet someone in a bar or tell people where you're going. We had no idea where she was, so we had spent half the next day looking for her. Whereas if someone had known, you know, the process wouldn't have drawn out that long the next day.
But look, you say all that, but she had no way of knowing that this was going to be the outcome, you know, and how unlucky was she that this is what happened.
You know, but no one would ever expect, like, you just never think that anything like that would happen to you or your family. Like, we're just a normal family, she was a normal girl. You never dreamed anything like this would ever happen in your family.
Okay.
A hotel room in Tallaght, South Dublin. The Do Not Disturb sign is on the door. It has been there for hours. When cleaning staff finally push it open, what they find on the floor stops them cold. Sonia Blount is 31 years old. She is a mother, she is someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's friend, and she has been murdered, strangled with bare hands and a phone cable, her own shirt forced into her throat with such violence that it shattered her teeth. The man who did this has already walked out. He got in a taxi. He told the driver he'd had an eventful night. Tallaght sits in the shadow of the Dublin mountains, a working-class suburb that moves at its own pace. This is where Sonia Blount grew up, born into a family of 5, the eldest child, the one everyone leaned on. Her family would describe her the same way, over and over again, caring, kind, always the one looking out for everyone else. She had studied childcare in college before taking a job at a manufacturing plant near Clondalkin. She would stay there for almost a decade. By late 2013, Sonia was 31. She was also, for the first time in a long time, beginning to enjoy life again. A previous long-term relationship, a domineering, controlling one, had collapsed that autumn. The man had left the country, the weight had lifted. She had her young son, barely a toddler, and she had her independence. She was not looking for anything serious. She was just looking to breathe. She would not get the chance. 6 miles west of Dublin city centre sits Clondalkin. This is where Eric Locke was born in 1982, into a working family in a tight-knit community. On the surface, there was nothing remarkable about him, nothing alarming. He played football, he supported Manchester United, he went to college and got a job. He was, by all accounts, upright, presentable, decent-looking. But beneath the surface, those who spent time with Eric Locke noticed something they struggled to put into words. One friend described him as, and these are the words that stuck, charming, but dead behind the eyes. He had no criminal history, not a single prior arrest. He had never been violent, at least not that anyone knew of. He had relationships, but never kept them. And nobody, it seemed, ever knew very much about those relationships at all. There was also something else, something Locke had carried since he was a teenager. When he was around 12 or 13 years old, he had been taunted in the showers after PE class. He had been born with a birth defect, a urethral abnormality, and a surgical attempt to correct it had failed, leaving him with both the deformity and the scarring. When his classmates noticed, they did not let it go. From that moment forward, Locke always felt different, and somewhere in that difference, something curdled. His defense team would later argue that Locke showed signs of ADHD and pervasive developmental disorder from early childhood, traits his family had, observed but never had formally diagnosed. Whether or not that is true, none of it explains what came next. Nothing explains what came next. In late 2013, Eric Locke got a new job at a glue manufacturing plant near Clondalkin, and there, across the factory floor, he met Sonia Blount. By December 2013, Sonia and Locke had started spending time together outside of work. A few dates, nothing serious. Locke himself would later admit they were never boyfriend and girlfriend. It was just a couple of nights out. Casual, early. Then came January 2014. A gig, a night out, and then, in the space of one evening, everything changed. At some point in the evening, Sonia stepped outside for a cigarette. 20 minutes passed. When Locke came out to find her, she was talking to other people, white men among them. He did not ask what was happening. He did not pull her aside. He called her a slut. In public, on a night out, after a handful of dates. Sonia left. She told him it was over. Whatever this was, irreméon, it was finished. For anyone with a sense of proportion, that would have been the end of the story. 2 people who went on a few dates, one of them behaved badly. They went their separate ways. Done. But Eric Locke did not have a sense of proportion. Within hours of Sonia leaving that night, Locke began texting. Dozens of messages, begging, apologizing, demanding a second chance. And when Sonia responded, calmly, patiently, telling him she understood he was a decent person, but that she could not accept being spoken to that way, he escalated. The messages kept coming, day after day. He explained his insecurity. He said she had not told him he was attractive and that this was why he reacted the way he did. He needed reassurance. He needed her to come back. He needed her. Sonia asked him to stop. He didn't. She asked again. He kept going. Then on the 13th of January, 3 days after the disastrous gig, Eric Locke walked off the job mid-shift. He stopped answering calls. He went silent. Sonia, being who she was, kind, caring, always concerned, sent him a text to check if he was all right. He responded the following day. He told her he was in a hotel room. He had a rope. He was sorry. Sonia called the Garda. Officers traced his phone to a hotel room. When they arrived, Locke told them it was a joke. They did not believe him. He was arrested under the Mental Health Act and hospitalized. He discharged himself the same day. And Sonia, because she was Sonia, stayed in touch, gently, encouraging him to get help, checking that he was okay. She was not sleeping. She was not eating. She was terrified of what this man might do to himself. He was not suicidal. He was strategic. He had pulled the most powerful lever he had, her conscience, and he was watching it work. On the 24th of January, Locke sent Sonia a long letter. It followed a familiar pattern, one paragraph building her up, the next tearing her down. He was sorry, he was ashamed, and here it came. He had thought she might have stood by him when he was suicidal. He would have waited for her. He would have been there for her. It was a trap dressed as an apology, a guilt trip wrapped in gratitude. She was too kind to miss it. But those around her were not fooled. Sonia blocked him on social media. She told a friend he was freaking her out. She considered asking for a shift change at work so she would not have to see him. She confided in a colleague, "He's a proper Fruit Loop." She was scared. And while Sonia was building walls, Eric Locke was already looking for ways to tear them down. On the 9th of February, 1 week before Sonia's death, Locke sent a message to his sister. He told her he and Sonia were back together. This was a lie, Miles, and that he'd heard she was ripping him off behind his back. He asked his sister to get a friend to hack into Sonia's Facebook. When that failed because her profile was private, he asked about hacking her email. His sister refused both times and told him to walk away. He did not walk away. He was already working on something else. At some point, investigators were never able to pin down exactly when, Eric Locke created a second identity. A Facebook profile complete with photographs, friends, and a name, Shane Cully, a man who did not exist. The profile was good, not sloppy, not rushed. It looked real. Locke had taken the time to build it out, to make it credible, because he knew exactly what he was going to use it for. Around the 10th of February, the Shane Cully account sent Sonia Blount a friend request. And Sonia, who was lonely, who was cautiously open, who had just escaped a controlling relationship and was allowing herself, carefully, to enjoy life again, accepted. They started messaging. Shane was fun. Shane was different. He had banter. He had charm. He seemed like everything Eric Locke was not. And he was, of course, Eric Locke entirely. Sonia was not naive. A voice in the back of her mind whispered. She raised it directly with a colleague. "Are you sure that's not Eric, just pretending to be someone else?" Her colleague said the same thing back to her, and Sonia said, "The thought crossed my mind. But I got a selfie from him. It's not him." The selfie was not of Eric Locke. Where he found it, whose face he had stolen to reassure her, was never established. But it worked. Sonia pushed her doubts aside. By the 10th of February, the messages between her and Shane had become explicit. By Valentine's weekend, they had agreed to meet. The plan was simple, a hotel room, the Plaza Hotel in Talat, Sonia's own neighborhood. The night of Saturday, the 15th of February, 2014. She left her young son with her mother, telling her she was going out with her friend Susan. She canceled on Susan, saying she was tired and wanted to stay in. She told no one where she was actually going, because she was embarrassed, because it was something she had never done before. She arrived at the plaza at around 9 o'clock that evening. She checked in. She went upstairs, and then she waited. Shane Cully kept texting. He was running late. Could she leave a key card for him at reception? She said there was no need. She'd let him in when he knocked. He kept asking. Again. Again. A dozen messages, all asking for the key card, all insisting she leave it at the desk so he would not have to knock. She held out for hours. Then, after 3 hours of waiting, after he finally said he was on his way, Tired, nervous, perhaps a little excited, she walked back down to reception and left the key. She did not know yet why he needed that key card so badly. She would find out just before midnight. She did not hear a knock. She did not look through the peephole. The door simply opened. And standing in it, not Shane Cully, not the man from the selfie, not a stranger, was Eric Locke. Eric Locke had not come empty-handed. He had brought cable ties, masking tape, a Stanley knife, and an air gun, a pellet gun realistic enough to pass as the real thing. He would later tell the Garda that he had brought these items only to frighten her, to force her to sit down and listen. He said he had planned to tie her to a chair and make her hear him out. The Garda did not believe that. The jury would not believe it either. Because a man who plans to have a conversation does not bring a knife. A man who is coming to talk does not engineer the situation so that his victim cannot see him through the peephole before he opens the door. A man who simply wants to be heard does not need a gun. We will never know exactly what Sonia felt in those seconds after she recognized him. We will never know what she said or what she tried to do. What we know is this: she fought. She fought hard. The forensic evidence left no doubt about that. At some point in that room, Eric Locke attempted to strangle Sonia Blount with the cable of her phone charger. When that did not finish the job, he used his bare hands. The strangulation was so prolonged and so vicious that it broke multiple bones in her neck. Her own t-shirt was then forced into her mouth, pushed in with such force that it shattered her teeth and snapped the wire retainer at the back of her mouth. The state pathologist confirmed that, given the bruising around her lips, Sonia was alive when it was put there. She scratched his face. Her DNA was found under his fingernails. His DNA was found on her forehead, her body, the pillow, and the bed sheets. Her blood was on the jeans he was wearing when he walked out. She fought for her life. She did not win, but she fought. The official cause of death, asphyxiation, due to compression of the neck. The official time of discovery, 3 o'clock the following afternoon, by cleaning staff who found the "Do Not Disturb" sign and knocked anyway. Sonia Blount's body was lying on the floor of the room, positioned on her side. Locke had dressed her before he left. He said he did it for her dignity. The prosecution would later suggest a different interpretation, that he needed time to disappear. Just before 5:40 in the morning, CCTV captured Eric Locke leaving the Plaza Hotel. He was caught on camera trying to wipe his face, attempting to hide the deep scratch marks Sonia had left on his cheek. He disposed of his mobile phone outside the building. He stepped onto the street. He flagged down a taxi. The taxi driver noticed the scratches immediately. Locke told him he'd had an eventful night. Said a girl he'd been dancing with had a boyfriend who came up and gave him a few slaps. He shrugged it off. He rode home to Clondalkin. He went to sleep. Sonia's family began to worry the next morning when she didn't call to check on her son. She always called first thing, always. When she didn't, her mother rang Sonia's friend Susan. Susan said she had stayed home that night. And then Sonia's brother saw something on social media. A body had been found at a hotel in Talat. Her father drove to the Plaza Hotel. He saw Sonia's car in the car park. He saw the Garda tape. He said later that he just knew. 6 hours after Sonia's body was discovered, Eric Locke walked into Store Street Garda Station in the center of Dublin and confessed. He said he had tried to kill himself afterward, but couldn't go through with it when he thought of his family. He admitted the killing. He said it was an accident. He said he had only gone to the hotel to talk. He said Sonia had agreed to stay with him. He said they had consensual sex. He said she only panicked when she saw what was in his bag. He said he strangled her to stop her screaming. He said he was not sure whether she was dead when he left. He said he was confessing to killing Sonia, not to murdering her. Because he had not intended for her to die. The Garda were not moved. They had seen the room. They had the forensic evidence. They had the CCTV. And they had found something at Eric Locke's home that made the picture very clear. When officers searched Locke's home in Clondalkin, they found more cable ties, handcuffs, and a screwdriver set. They also found a list of women's names, some with addresses Locke had obtained from social media. He had been tracking other women. This was not the impulsive act of a man who had cracked under grief. He had been building towards something for a long time. Sonia was not the beginning. She may not have been meant to be the end. 3 years passed between Sonia's death and the start of Eric Locke's murder trial. 3 years of legal delays, psychiatric reports, and adjournments. The case finally reached the Central Criminal Court in Dublin on the 8th of May, 2017. Locke was now 35 years old. He sat in the dock and pleaded not guilty. He had already admitted causing Sonia's death. The question was whether he had murdered her, whether he had intended to kill her or cause serious bodily harm. And the strategy of his defense was clear from the start. He was not a killer. He was a broken man. Locke's defense team called a psychiatrist who testified that Locke had been suffering from a pervasive developmental disorder, traits of autism and ADHD that had gone undiagnosed throughout his life. The argument was diminished responsibility, that Locke's mental state had been so severely compromised that he could not fully be held to account for what he had done. The defense psychiatrist acknowledged that there had been planning involved, but he argued that Locke had not intended to kill. He had panicked, he had lost control, he had not foreseen the outcome. The prosecution did not accept that, not for a moment. The prosecution laid out the case piece by piece, the fake Facebook profile, built over time, complete with photographs and friends. The selfie sent to reassure Sonia it was not Locke. The dozen messages pushing her to leave the keycard, specifically to prevent her seeing him through the peephole, the bag of weapons brought to the room, the attempt to strangle her with the cable, then switching to bare hands when it wasn't working fast enough. And then there was what the forensic evidence told them about the killing itself. It did not happen in a moment of blind rage. Strangulation takes time. It takes sustained effort. It takes the conscious application of force against a person who is fighting back. Sonia fought, and he kept going. They also pointed to what Locke did after, dressing the body, placing the do not disturb sign on the door, disposing of his phone, covering his face as he left the hotel. These were not the actions of a man who had blacked out. These were the actions of a man managing his exposure. The jury deliberated for 1 hour and 33 minutes. When the foreman stood up and delivered the verdict, unanimous, guilty of murder, there were gasps in the courtroom. Some of Sonia's family wept. Others called out, then applause. As he was led from the dock, Eric Locke turned to Sonia's family and said he was sorry. Sonia's sister Claire later said what the family thought of that apology. If he had truly been sorry, he would not have put them through 2 weeks of a trial. He would not have made them sit in that courtroom and listen to the details of what he had done to her sister. His apology was, like the rest of him, a performance. On the 2nd of June, 2017, Eric Locke was sentenced to life in prison, the mandatory term for murder in Ireland. 2 of Sonia's sisters read victim impact statements. They talked about what it meant to lose a sister, a daughter, an aunt. And they talked about what it meant for a 3-year-old boy to grow up without his mother. Sonia had promised her son she would never leave him. Eric Locke took that promise and broke it. Sonia Blount did everything right. She got out of a bad relationship. She protected her son. She built a life. When a new man showed interest, she was careful. She asked for a selfie. She checked. She asked twice. She was not reckless. She was human. She made the mistake of trusting and the mistake of being kind to someone who interpreted kindness as weakness. Eric Locke did not kill Sonia in a moment of madness. He killed her at the end of a deliberate, calculated campaign. The fake profile, the manufactured intimacy, the engineered hotel setup, the bag full of weapons he swore were just for frightening her. Every step was a choice. Every step had a direction. And that direction was always the same. There is a lesson in this case that does not make for comfortable watching. We talk about catfishing as a digital era problem, strangers pretending to be someone they're not. But what Eric Locke did went beyond a fake profile. He used his knowledge of Sonia, what she liked, how she talked, what she was afraid of, to construct a trap she could not see until the door was already open. He was not a stranger who had found her online. He was someone she knew, who knew her, who weaponized that knowledge against her. That is something different. That is something darker. And that is something that is very, very hard to protect against. Sonia's family said they believed she agreed to that hotel meeting because she was lonely. A woman who had fought her way through a difficult relationship, who was raising a child alone, who just wanted to find something that felt good. There is nothing shameful in that. There is nothing foolish in that. There is only grief. Eric Locke is serving life. His victim was 31 years old. Her son is growing up without her.